Please like and subscribe if you watch us and you haven't subscribed yet. Appreciate it. Get to this past week's fight night. I actually got to watch the co-main event and main event. I actually came in right towards the end of the co-main event. And man, okay, well, actually, you know what? Is there anything else you want to talk about on this card first?
Justin Tafa, speaking of pulling out, Justin Tafa had to pull out. He fights at heavyweight, had some weight cutting issue or whatever. So I looked this up. Tafa brothers have pulled out of 7 UFC fights between them. So I think just cut them both at this point. There's too many guys on the roster anyway. I heard it was a weight cutting issue. He's a heavyweight. I have zero sympathy for people that, miss weight multiple times. There's too many people on the roster. Just cut them. I don't care to watch them fight anyway. So get rid of those guys. That fight didn't happen, obviously. Jake Matthews versus Neil Magny. We got to talk about this one a little bit. So Jake Matthews beating Neil Magny all up and down the ring. In the first round, he had him in a choke, and the ref stopped the fight with 1 second left. But Neil was clearly not out. I could see why the ref stopped it because his arm kind of went limp. But Neil said it was because he was counting down from the clacker, so he knew that the bell was going off or whatever. And you could tell that he wasn't out at all. As soon as Jake got off him, he was completely there. So the ref then said, no, I didn't stop the fight. I just stopped the round. That was the end of the round. So then in typical Neil Magny fashion, after getting his ass kicked for 2 rounds, he comes back, goes all out in round 3, and ends up getting the sub on Jake Matthews in round 3. So, it's great for Neil because he wasn't out. So the ref should not have stopped the fight. So good on the ref for, 2 wrongs do make a right, apparently, lying and saying that he wasn't stopping the fight. But bummer for Jake Matthews. They said that they're going to, complain about the stoppage or contest the result or whatever. That never goes anywhere, and it'll mean nothing at all. So bummer for him. But also, I think don't let Neil Magny go to a 3rd round with you because he always comes back in the 3rd round. And Jimmy Crute, I guess we got mixed up here on this co-main and this co-main event because the UFC, whoever runs their website should have been fired years ago. Jimmy Crute versus Ivan Erslan, that was the co-main event, but let's talk about that now.
Okay, so I'll just share this. But Jimmy Crute, man, I walked in and he had this choke on it. I think you said in the group shot, it looked like he was just trying to rip his head off.
They end up calling it a reverse can opener. So
okay, I didn't know that.
Some sort of modified neck crank kind of thing. It was very strange.
Yeah, it did not look like this is high level MMA, but that just looked like some guy just trying to pull your head off. That was interesting. But hey, good for Jimmy Crute getting the win. And I was trying to think of opponents for him because he probably wants to try to crack into the top 15. And maybe this isn't the best fight for him, but I think it might be fun. Alonzo Menafield, I think, could be an interesting fight for him next. I like to see those two.
Have they fought before? I feel like Jimmy Crute's fought everyone. He's been around for
I wasn't sure when I looked that up. I was like, I'd like to see it. So
yeah, he looked great. Bummer for Ivan. So basically what happened was he had him he was sitting on his back and he pulled his chin up and Ivan didn't fight the hands or anything. Kind of seemed like he was looking for a way out, to be honest with you. I'm sure I'm wrong. It looked very painful for sure, but it didn't look like he was doing any of the things that you would typically associate with fighting out of a choke. So, but yeah, good for Jimmy Crute. Always want to watch him fight. He's trying to be on the next Australian card, which I believe is February or something.
I'll just point too. It's just super cool to see him still having this career. Yeah, I like guys like him and Neil Magny, Jim Miller, who's been around forever, but you know what I mean? Those guys that keep fighting and they're kind of in the middle. It's cool to see them get a win. If they're not, as long as they're not getting their brains bashed in. Then
yeah. Then also, so Jack Jenkins versus Ramon Taveras is who we thought was going to be the co-main event. Sorry, Ramon Taveras. He missed weight by a pound or whatever. And then Jack made it look pretty easy. He got a decision win. He looked pretty dominant.
And then our main event,
Carlos Ulberg versus Dominick Reyes.
Ulberg looked like on another level here. He just looked, we wanted a Dominick Reyes story. We both did. I didn't pick him because I just had a feeling he would get caught. But just watching that exchange in the first round, I don't know. There's something about Ulberg, watching him too. He looks very cool, calm and collected, super confident. He has every right to be. It doesn't even look like those are his hardest shots. He's throwing jabs out there, and it looks.
That was just a 1-2. Yeah,
he's dangerous. And I think for next fight for him, you want to put him in whoever's going to win this main event this weekend, UFC 320. I think he's a gift. Again, would have liked to see the Dominick Reyes story, but just looking at the way that played out, it's like, okay, let's go all in on Ulberg now, and let's see how he does.
Yeah, I had picked Reyes by decision because I thought that Reyes was going to try to fight really intelligently and safe early on, and, try to get in and mix up clinches to slow Ulberg down and all that, which, he did try to fight safe, but he needed to either be all the way in or all the way out. He was just kind of in that boxing range, which is perfect for Ulberg, and he wasn't throwing anything to get Ulberg's respect. So basically, he just had a freight train coming at him. So yeah, bummer for him, but anyone can get knocked out by Ulberg. Hopefully Dom's okay. It wasn't as brutal of a knockout as some of the other ones we've seen him experience. Hopefully he can regroup again. This is just a bump in the road for him. He can work his way back to a title shot still. So, or Ulberg could be next for the title shot, but I think that's going to depend on this Yuri and Khalil Roundtree fight on this upcoming card, which we can get into.
Yeah, I mean, if they have an amazing performance, and if Pereira too were to upset, Magomedov, I could see them want to do Roundtree and Pereira again because that first fight was so good, and obviously either one of those guys against Magomedov, that could be a fun, fight too. So Magomed, yeah. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I definitely think Ulberg is definitely in contention right now, though.
Yeah, for sure.